I was kicked out of my house on Christmas Eve by my own mother. Not even a fight, no screaming match, no drama. She just looked me dead in the eye, with the Christmas lights still blinking behind her, and said, "Maybe it's time you found your own place, honey." Like she was offering me a second helping of ham, not gutting me like a fish. The worst part? I had already paid that month's mortgage, and the electric, and the gas bill. See, growing up, I was the family's emotional landfill. Everything nobody wanted to deal with, dump it on me. My brother, Kyle the golden boy with the all-American grin, could do no wrong. Failed a class? Must have been the teacher's fault. Got a girl pregnant at 17? Boys will be boys. Meanwhile, if I so much as looked upset after working 2 jobs to keep the lights on, I was ungrateful. For years, I kept thinking if I just tried harder, they'd see me. If I stayed late to decorate for Thanksgiving, if I paid for Mom's car repairs without being asked, if I pretended Kyle's promotion of fake title Dad bought him in his company was something to celebrate, I'd finally be enough. I'd finally belong. I should have known better. The nail in the coffin came last Thanksgiving. I had taken PTO, cleaned Mom's house top to bottom, set the table with the good china which I had bought. By the way, Mom couldn't afford it that year. I baked pies from scratch. I even made Kyle's favorite stuffing, the one with the sausage and sage, even though the smell makes me nauseous. And when it came time for dinner, they switched my place card, moved me from the adult table where I had been setting everything up all day to the kids' table in the living room, right next to a sticky 5-year-old and a baby who immediately threw up on my sweater. Kyle, meanwhile, gave a grand toast, talking about family values and grit and loyalty like he was accepting an Oscar. My parents beamed at him like he'd cured cancer. No one even looked at me. I sat there, a grown woman, with gravy on my jeans and shame in my chest so thick I could barely breathe. I think that was the exact moment something inside me finally cracked. But Christmas Eve? That was the real showstopper. After I wrapped every present again paid for by me, cleaned the kitchen again because Kyle had plans, and restocked the bar for Mom's precious neighbors coming by later, I asked if I could take a little time off from helping in the new year. Just have a little breathing room. Maybe find my own apartment. Maybe stop drowning in guilt and bills. Mom smiled so sweetly it made my stomach churn. "Of course, honey. Actually, that reminds me. We think it's time you moved out. You're not a kid anymore, you know. I was 37. I felt my face go hot. For one terrible second, I thought I might cry, or beg, or scream. But I didn't. I just nodded, my heart hammering in my ears, and I left. No coat, no plan, no one following me to the door. Outside, the air bit through my thin sweater. Snow stuck to my hair. I climbed into my beat-up Corolla and just drove. I didn't even know where I was going. I just knew I couldn't stay another second where I was only ever good enough when they needed something. That night, I slept in a Walmart parking lot, under 3 ratty blankets, watching happy families pile into SUVs with their new PlayStations and shiny red bikes. I kept waiting for my phone to buzz, for anyone to realize I was gone. It never did. That was the first night in my entire life I realized I was utterly, completely disposable to the people I had broken myself trying to love. And it broke something else in me too, the part that still cared. After Christmas, the first went silent. No texts, no calls, no Happy New Year. Fake smiles. I changed my number, shut down my Facebook, let the family group chat rot in the dust. At first, it felt like cutting off an arm. I kept reaching for the phone instinctively, to tell Mom about a sale on Keurig pods, to remind Kyle about Aunt Lila's birthday, to check if anyone needed help with taxes, like I always did every spring. But every time I almost dialed, I remembered sitting at the kids' table, the sticky hand grabbing my blouse, Kyle laughing across the room with his real family, and the way Mom had looked right through me. And I didn't call. January passed. February. The world kept turning. So did my bitterness. I found a cheap, crappy studio apartment downtown. The kind of place where you can hear your neighbor's dog snoring and the hot water is more of a polite suggestion than a guarantee. I slept on a blow-up mattress, surrounded by my few surviving belongings, 2 suitcases of clothes, my laptop, and a coffee maker that sputtered like a dying engine every morning. No houseplants. No family photos. I couldn't bring myself to put anything permanent down. Still, it was mine. Meanwhile, the silence from my family wasn't just loud, it was weaponized. First came the passive-aggressive check-ins, emails from mom, subject lines like thinking of you, messages that managed to squeeze guilt into every fake smiley exclamation mark. Hope you're doing well. Kyle's promotion party is next week. Everyone would love to see you. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a clear expectation, fall back into line. I didn't respond. Then came the pity plays. A voicemail from Dad, sounding fake sad. Your mother misses you. It's really hurt her, you know. We're all hurting. Hurting. Right. Must have been so hard, kicking me out into a snowstorm while they sipped brandy by the fireplace. Still, their strategy wasn't just guilt. It was rumors, too. I found out from an old coworker that Mom had been telling extended family I had stormed out on Christmas, unprovoked. That I was having a nervous breakdown. That Kyle had generously offered to cover for my responsibilities while I got help. Cover what exactly? My bills? My cooking? My invisible servitude? But the masterpiece came in March. One afternoon, after a long shift at the grocery store where I was working part-time just to survive, I came home to find my apartment door slightly open. Nothing stolen. Nothing obviously missing. Just moved. My closet had been rummaged. My laptop screen left blinking. A picture frame, the one I hadn't even put up yet, turned face down on the floor. I stood in the middle of that tiny room and felt my whole body go cold. I knew it wasn't a break-in. It was a message. Later, I found out from a neighbor that some woman had been knocking on doors earlier, asking questions. Said she was worried about you, he told me, shrugging. Thought maybe you were in trouble. My mother. It had to be. I don't know what twisted rationalization she used to justify breaking into my life again. Probably something about checking on me or making sure I wasn't on drugs or some other drama, but it didn't matter. It was war now. The next day, I changed the locks, installed a security camera facing my door, signed up for a P.O. box, and rerouted all my mail. I stopped answering unknown numbers. Stopped opening emails unless they were from my boss or my utility company. I erased every trace of vulnerability they could use against me. And slowly, painfully, something new started to grow where all the old wounds had festered. Anger. Not the white-hot, dramatic kind you see in movies. Not flipping tables or screaming into the night. No, this was a slow, cold fury. The kind you carry quietly, like a blade tucked against your ribs. I started taking double shifts, saved every penny, cut out every non-essential expense. I drank discount coffee. I wore thrift store shoes until they had holes. I cooked instant ramen and learned to patch up my own jeans. Every time I wanted to splurge or slack off or cry, I pictured Mom's pitying face, Kyle's smug grin, Dad's blank silence. And I worked harder. They thought I would come crawling back, that the loneliness would break me, that I'd show up on their doorstep like a prodigal daughter, begging forgiveness for the crime of not being convenient enough. They didn't realize something crucial. I wasn't lonely. I was finally free. No more thankless favors. No more cleaning up after Kyle's messes. No more smiling through insults disguised as jokes. No more sitting at the kids' table while the grown-ups applauded themselves for my labor. For the first time in my life, every breath I took was mine alone. I spent that spring and summer laying the bricks of a life no one could touch. By July, the first had found a better job office assistant at a real estate firm. It didn't pay great at first, but the owner liked me. Said I had the kind of hustle most people can't fake. I got promoted within 3 months. By September, I had enough to buy real furniture. A real bed, a small desk, even a battered second-hand bookshelf that I stained myself until it looked almost respectable. I didn't post any of it online. No Facebook albums, no Instagram stories, no LinkedIn humble brags. Because this wasn't for them. This was for me. And in the eerie silence of my new life, I started to notice something interesting. They needed me more than I had ever needed them. The calls increased. So did the emergency texts. Kyle needs help with taxes, you're so good at that. Mom's car broke down, and you're the only one who knows the mechanic. Dad's birthday is next week, can you organize something? It was like they couldn't function without a scapegoat/servant to glue their chaos together. And when I didn't respond, The real ugliness came out. Messages turned nasty. Thinly veiled threats about how family doesn't abandon family. Guilt trips about mom's health problems. Newsflash, she's fine. Accusations that I was ungrateful, selfish, mentally unstable. At first it hurt. Even knowing what I knew, it still hurt. Somewhere deep down, that little girl inside me still wanted them to choose her, to love her. But each hateful message sanded that hope down a little more, until finally, it was gone. By the time Halloween rolled around, I could look at my mother's name flashing on my phone screen and feel absolutely nothing. Not anger, not sadness, just silence. And maybe that's when I realized I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was winning. The truth finally cracked open because of an overcooked turkey. Seriously. It was mid-November, right before Thanksgiving, and I was minding my own business, sipping burnt office coffee and going through sales files when my phone buzzed. Unknown number, local area code. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something made me answer. Hey, is this Emma? A familiar voice asked. It took me a second. Then it clicked. Aunt Lila, my mom's younger sister, the family outcast. The one who moved across the country after some ancient falling out that nobody ever explained. I hadn't spoken to her in years. Probably since I was 16, back when she sent me a birthday card that Mom accidentally shredded. Yeah, this is Emma, I said cautiously. There was a pause, like she was trying to figure out if she should even continue. I heard some things, she said finally, from your cousin Rachel about what happened last Christmas. And listen, honey, I need to tell you something. Before they screw you even harder, she said, screw you in that soft southern lilt, like it was just another blessing. I almost laughed. But what she told me next wiped the smile clean off my face. Apparently, while Mom was busy painting me as a psycho runaway, she and Kyle had been making some administrative moves behind the scenes. Specifically, they had convinced my grandfather, who had been in a nursing home for 2 years, barely coherent on a good day, to change his will. Grandpa had always promised to split everything equally between me and Kyle. I wasn't counting on it, but it had been one of those comforting background beliefs, like gravity. Grandpa wasn't rich by any means, just a modest old house and a bit of savings, but still, it was a lifeline. Turns out, 2 months after I abandoned the family, a brand new will got filed. One that left everything to Kyle. Everything. The house, the savings, the insurance payout. Mom and Dad were listed as caretakers entitled to reimbursement from the estate. Kyle was the sole heir. My name? Completely erased. Like I never existed. I sat there in the break room, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. They said you didn't want anything to do with the family anymore, Aunt Lila said quietly. Said you were unstable, dangerous even. Dangerous. Me, the woman who spent years cleaning their damn gutters and filing their taxes and bailing Kyle out of DUI charges at 2 a.m. I thanked her, promised to call her back, and hung up. For a long time, I just sat there, staring at the vending machine, trying to breathe. It wasn't even about the money. Not really. It was about the fact that they had been planning this the whole time. Kicking me out hadn't been a whim. It had been a strategy. Strip me of everything, erase me from the family records, and move on with Kyle as the shining heir. A clean, tidy narrative where the problem daughter conveniently disappeared before the paperwork was finalized. They didn't just abandon me. They erased me. And for a few minutes, I almost let myself sink into despair. Almost. But then something cold and razor-sharp settled into my chest. They thought they were smart. Thought they had closed every door behind me. Left me out in the cold with nothing but regret. They forgot one thing, though. I'm a stubborn bitch when I want to be. And I had receipts. See, Grandpa had named me his medical proxy before he got sick. I still had the paperwork buried in one of my old file boxes, saved more out of laziness than anything else. Technically, I had standing to contest any legal changes made while he was incapacitated. And if they wanted to play dirty, oh, honey, I could play colder. The next week was a blur of research. I barely slept, pored over online articles about contesting wills. called legal aid hotlines, made appointments with every free consultation estate lawyer I could find. Most said the same thing. It would be an uphill battle, but not impossible, especially if I could prove undue influence, especially if I could show Grandpa's mental decline and their financial motives, especially if I had evidence, which, as it turned out, I did. Buried deep in my email archives was a chain of messages from Mom, sent the year Grandpa first got sick, begging me to talk to him because he was getting confused and making things up. There it was, written proof that they knew he wasn't capable of legally changing anything. And they had done it anyway. I was about ready to start the legal process when Aunt Lila called again. "I got something you might want," she said casually, like she was offering me an extra slice of pie. Turned out, during one of her few visits before the family iced her out completely, she had recorded a conversation with Grandpa. Just audio on her phone. Nothing fancy. In the recording, Grandpa clearly said, "Emma and Kyle split everything. Equal. Fair." Then he laughed and added, "Emma's the smart one anyway. She'll know what to do with it." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry when I heard it. Instead, I thanked Aunt Lila, copied the file 6 times, uploaded it to 3 different clouds, and made an appointment with the nastiest probate attorney I could afford. The kind with a reputation for treating inheritance disputes like blood sport. When I walked into his office with my pile of evidence and my recording and my timeline, he leaned back in his leather chair, smiled like a wolf, and said, "They're not going to know what hit them." Neither did I, honestly, because what started as a personal vendetta grew into something bigger. Turns out Mom and Kyle hadn't just screwed me over. They'd been siphoning money out of Grandpa's accounts for months before he died. Little withdrawals here and there, gift cards, repairs that never happened, caretaker stipends that went straight into Kyle's new Tesla. It wasn't just shady, it was criminal. My lawyer filed motions so fast it made their heads spin. Freezes on the estate, fraud investigations, subpoenas for bank records. The family rumor mill exploded. Mom started posting vague Facebook statuses about betrayal and ungrateful children. Kyle posted a long, self-pitying rant about people who can't let go of the past. I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because the train had already left the station, and it was carrying a hell of a lot of karma in its cargo hold. If you've never seen a narcissist realize their mask has slipped for good, let me tell you, it's not a tantrum. It's a slow-motion implosion, like watching a building collapse from the inside, steel beams bending and windows cracking before the whole thing finally caves in. It started with the bank records. After my lawyer subpoenaed them, it became very obvious, very fast, that Kyle and Mom had been bleeding Grandpa's accounts dry for months before he died. Little charges, first $300 for medical supplies that were actually a new Xbox, $450 for home repairs that somehow coincided with Kyle's Vegas weekend. But it got worse. $5,000 here, $10,000 there. Right before Grandpa's mental capacity evaluations showed major cognitive decline. Paper trails don't lie. The day my lawyer filed the fraud complaint, I got my first official letter from my mother in over a year. Real mail. Certified. Inside was a single handwritten note on flowery stationery. Family should be about forgiveness. We miss you. Don't do this. No apology, no explanation. Just an order wrapped in a guilt trip. I laughed so hard I almost dropped the letter. Meanwhile, the court granted an emergency motion to freeze all estate disbursements pending investigation, which meant Kyle's brand new Tesla, the one he had posted about 3 times a week on Instagram, seized. Mom's half-finished kitchen remodel stopped mid-demo. No counters, no sink, just a hollowed-out mess of cabinets and dust. They tried to pivot fast, to control the narrative. Suddenly, they were the victims. Poor Kyle was stressed and overwhelmed by caregiving. Poor Mom only wanted what was best for Grandpa. They started lobbing accusations like grenades. Emma's unstable. She's jealous. She's always been dramatic. I didn't take the bait. Didn't post a single thing. Didn't comment. Didn't even correct the lies when distant relatives started side-eyeing me at the grocery store. Because the truth had a nasty little habit of clawing its way to daylight, with or without my help. The fraud investigation wrapped faster than anyone expected. Turns out, when you leave sloppy paper trails and multiple witnesses shout out to Aunt Lila MVP of this entire saga, even the most charming golden boy can't outrun the consequences. By April, the DA filed charges. Kyle was indicted for financial elder abuse and grand larceny. Mom skated by with a neglectful oversight citation and a hefty fine, but her reputation in town was obliterated. No more charity luncheons, no more clinking wine glasses with the church ladies, just whispered conversations and pointed fingers wherever she went. And Dad, the man who always sat quietly in the background, he finally cracked too. One night, drunk and slurring at a neighbor's barbecue, he spilled everything. How they had needed the money to bail Kyle out of a second DUI arrest. How Mom just wanted to make things easier by streamlining the inheritance. How they figured I'd get over it eventually. Word traveled fast after that. By summer, nobody was pretending anymore. Kyle pled out to avoid jail time probation, a massive restitution payment plan, mandatory community service. But the real punishment? He had to sell almost everything he owned to cover it. The Tesla, gone. His prized gaming PC setup, gone. His laughably tiny condo downtown, gone. The best part? The restitution payments? They're made out to me. Every month. Direct deposit. I considered refusing them, just to stay completely clean. But my lawyer looked me dead in the eye and said, "Honey, you earned every penny of that blood money. Take it. Use it to build something beautiful." So I do. I don't even touch the deposits. I just let them pile up in a separate savings account labeled Freedom Fund. Meanwhile, Mom tried every trick in the book to worm her way back into my life. Crying voicemails. Packages with family heirlooms, half of them junk she probably found in the attic. Sappy emails about how time heals all wounds. The final straw came when she sent me a photo. Thanksgiving at their house. The table was set for 3. Kyle, Mom, Dad. And in the center of the table, an empty chair. No plate, no napkin, just a gaping space, like some kind of morbid tribute. The message was clear. "See, you're missing. You should be here. You broke this family." I stared at that photo for a long time. And then, very calmly, I blocked her number. Blocked Kyle. Blocked Dad. Changed my locks again just to be safe. Updated my will. Set up an LLC for my new side business. Bought a little plot of land 3 counties over, right next to a river that glows gold in the autumn. The last piece of my revenge wasn't public. It wasn't dramatic. It was peaceful. At the end of the summer, I broke ground on a house. Not just any house. My house, 3 bedrooms, wraparound porch, sun-drenched kitchen, reading nook by the window. Room for a dog someday. Maybe a workshop for the little furniture projects I'd picked up. I paid for it all myself. No loans, no co-signers. Just hard work, grit, and every bit of karma they sent my way without realizing it. When it was finally finished early the next November, exactly 1 year after I was shoved into the kids' table like an afterthought, I threw a party. But not for them. I invited my friends, my boss, my coworkers, my neighbors from the studio apartment building who had once left groceries by my door when I was broke. We grilled steaks out back, drank cheap wine, laughed until our sides hurt. The sun dipped low behind the trees, setting the river on fire with light. And when someone asked if my family was coming, I just smiled and said, "They're not invited." Later that night, I stood barefoot on my new porch, cool wood under my feet, and listened to the crickets. To the river. To the hush of a life finally free from obligation. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't grieving. I wasn't waiting for an apology that would never come. I was home. Really, truly home. And if they thought they left me with nothing, they underestimated how much a woman can build from the ashes they thought would bury her. I used to think freedom would feel like fireworks, like some big, dramatic moment where the sky split open and the crowd roared and everything inside me finally healed. But the truth is, real freedom feels like silence. It feels like walking through your own front door without flinching. It feels like waking up in a house that's yours, no hidden strings, no waiting for the other shoe to drop, and making pancakes at 10 a.m. just because you damn well feel like it. It feels like peace. After the housewarming party, life settled into a rhythm so sweet it almost hurt. Mornings with coffee on the porch swing. Evenings spent sanding old chairs or painting side tables rescued from thrift stores. Friends stopping by with wine and gossip. Sunday afternoons curled up in the reading nook with the kind of fat novels I never had time for when I was living in survival mode. The holidays rolled around again faster than I expected. Thanksgiving especially. That anniversary buzzed under my skin like an old bruise. 1 year since I sat at the kids' table in a room full of people who loved the idea of me, the use of me, more than the real, living, breathing woman I had become. 1 year since they shoved me out into the cold and didn't even lock the door behind me. I thought about hiding from it, skipping the day entirely, but that felt like letting them win somehow. So instead, I threw my own Thanksgiving. A real one. I roasted the biggest turkey I could find. Baked pies from scratch, pumpkin, pecan, even apple, because why the hell not? I set my long farmhouse table with mismatched plates and thrifted silverware, lit candles, played music, laughed until my ribs hurt. Friends packed my house so full it practically vibrated with life. People who chose me. People I chose back. People who didn't need me to sacrifice myself to be worth a damn. At one point, I looked around, at the warmth, the noise, the cluttered joy of it all, and felt a lump rise in my throat so big I almost choked on it. Not grief, gratitude. Because it hit me right then, I didn't lose a family. I survived them, and I built something better in the rubble they left behind. Of course, they tried to crawl back. They always do. Sometime around December, I got a letter forwarded to my P.O. box. A Christmas card. Inside, a photo. Mom and Dad posing stiffly next to a plastic Christmas tree in what looked like a rented condo. Kyle sitting awkwardly off to the side, thinner than I remembered, his smile cracked at the edges. Underneath, in Mom's swirling cursive, "You're always welcome home. Home." I almost laughed. Because what they never understood, what they still didn't get, is that home isn't four walls and a shared last name. It's not blood or guilt or obligation. Home is the place where you are loved without having to earn it. Home is the life you build when you finally stop begging people to choose you. I didn't respond. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I just tucked the card into a drawer somewhere out of sight and went back to making my own life. A few weeks later, I heard through the grapevine that Kyle had moved out of state. Some fresh start nonsense. Mom and Dad were trying to sell the gutted house, but the market was cold, and word about the fraud charges hadn't exactly made them popular with buyers. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt distant, like watching a storm rage itself out across the valley, knowing it couldn't touch me anymore. In the spring, I adopted a dog from a shelter, a mutt with mismatched eyes and a bark way too big for her body. I named her Clover. She snores like a chainsaw and hogs the bed, but I don't mind. We walk the river trails together in the mornings, when the mist still curls low over the water and the world feels soft and unfinished. Sometimes, I catch sight of my reflection in the windows we pass. Jeans dusty, hair windblown, Clover trotting proudly at my side, and barely recognize myself. Not because I'm broken, because I'm whole. For the first time. People sometimes ask if I regret it. Cutting ties, burning bridges, walking away from people who called themselves family. And the truth is, no. I regret every extra minute I spent trying to prove my worth to people who were never going to see it. I regret not choosing myself sooner. I regret every Thanksgiving the first spent smiling through tears and every Christmas Eve wondering why the love never quite reached me. But now, when the holidays come, when the world turns cold and glittering and heavy with memory, I light a fire, I pour a glass of wine, I sit on my porch swing with Clover curled up at my feet. And I remember, not the hurt, not the betrayal, not even the anger. I remember that I survived. I remember that I built something beautiful from the wreckage they left me in. I remember that I walked away, not because I was heartless, but because, for the first time in my life, I put my heart first. And I never looked back. Story 2. Nobody is attending your party. Adult up. On my birthday, my mother sent me a text message on the family group chat. I read it twice. Answered, I get it. Next, stop their rent's automatic payments of $300 and $2,000. I canceled all of their credit cards and returned the automobile the next day. Nobody is attending your party. Adult up. The communication was not private. My mother texted me in a group chat on my birthday. I read it twice. Then I gave a single word in response. I get it. And the first action I took, I terminated the $2,300 monthly automatic rent payment I had been paying to them by opening my banking app. I went to their residence by car the next morning. I stayed outside. After backing up the vehicle they've been driving for the last 2 years, I just pressed the knob and walked away. I then shut down all of the bank's credit cards and phoned them. Not because I felt insulted. Since I had finished acting a part, I never consented to their subsequent silence. Confusion wasn't the problem. The shock was strong and dense. When you know something is really over, it's the sort that becomes ingrained in your bones. Not a fit, no bluff, just a permanent door shutting. They assumed I wouldn't follow through, that I would be a little theatrical, pout for a little while, and then go on, as usual. However, since this wasn't the first hit, this time was different. It was the final one, the last word in a lengthy, degrading phrase in which I was never a son, but rather a resource, a human ATM with an easily ignored face. I'm 28. I reside in a modest apartment on Denver's southwest side. I provide help for a firm that makes health software. It's solid, but not glamorous. And I genuinely thought that the toughest years were over and that we had finally found peace. Perhaps, just possibly, I had done enough to merit a seat in the chamber. They didn't want evidence, though. They want quiet and appreciation for allowing me to be close to what they still dared to refer to as family. The message wasn't the main shock. It was the number of individuals who disregarded it. My aunt used a heart emoji in response. My sister made a cake-related statement. A clown meme with a caption was sent by my father. Who's getting 12 again? Nobody inquired about my well-being. Nobody wished you a happy birthday. I held my phone while I sat there in the dark. What's the most hilarious part? I wasn't even injured. The length of time I had allowed it to continue just astounded me. Since I was 24, I have been paying them rent. Not due to my wealth. They made it seem as though I had to, not because they were asking politely. It's only a temporary situation. Right now, you are the only one who is steady. We sacrificed everything for you. It's your time now. 4 years passed during the short period. Each month, similar to clockwork, pay the rent, groceries, gas, Wi-Fi, fixes. All of it was paid for by myself. Even their felines. Vet bill. Not because I intended to treat them, but rather because I would feel guilty later if I didn't. Then the texts arrived. The group chat's passive-aggressive reminders are likely to be turned off once more. Mom has back pain. I'm not sure how we're meant to go on our own. Emma had to get to work immediately because her car broke down. Do you see her? The final one. Emma's vehicle. I covered the cost. She is still the driver, still uses it to post selfies. One of them was captioned. I'm grateful to those who genuinely encourage me. Dark heart. I wasn't even tagged. By the way, my younger sister is named Emma. She is 25. Despite being unemployed, they are always on vacation. According to my parents, she's still figuring things out. For years, she has been sifting through my bank account. I once questioned my father why Emma never helped out around the house. She's not like you, he said. She's not made to handle pressure. Yes, you are. I was made for pressure, so that one stayed. They ensured it. However, pressure also breaks. I surprised them by driving 5 hours last Thanksgiving. I knocked anticipating a pie, champagne, and groceries. I'm not sure. A grin, perhaps. Mom blinked and opened the door. Oh, did you come? Screamed over her shoulder after that. Tell Josh to keep the gifts hidden, Emma. Here's your brother, I inquired. Who is Josh? She chuckled. Emma's boyfriend. They have been here for some time. My former room was with Josh. At supper that evening, I slept out on the couch. Dad raised a glass. Let's hear it for the man who pays the bills but can't hold down a girlfriend, he added, lifting his glass. Everyone chuckled. Emma too. Emma in particular. I said nothing at all. After finishing my glass of wine, I assisted with dishwashing. After the sink backed up, the plumbing bill was paid. Because, after all, that's what families do. Emma shared a photo she took with Josh in front of a mountain chalet a few weeks later. Caption: a family vacation. I was not invited. I had no idea they disappeared. When my coworker, who isn't even close to me, inquired, I found out. Your sister was on the Explore page, right? It seems like a good vacation. I looked at the picture. They were there. Mom, Dad, Emma, Josh. Grinning, beanies that match, cups in hand. I focused my attention on the cup Emma was carrying. The print was personalized. My favorite daughter ever. While they were there, they didn't even send me an SMS. My landlord sent me an email the week they returned. Note that tomorrow is the due day for rent. They had neglected to note that they had missed the transfer last month. They simply believed that I would figure it out and pay for it. I did, as usual. I'm in, therefore I paid for it. I was determined not to forget it, though. Things worsened. I was working remotely from home one day when I noticed my phone vibrating constantly. The family group conversation was in full swing. I initially believed someone had passed away. Not at all. A screenshot of my Amazon wish list was shared by Dad. Caption: "Take a look at this grown man who is requesting shampoo and socks for his birthday. I suppose we didn't raise him with enough resiliency. Not even able to purchase his own lotion." In response, Cousin Ashley sent a picture of toilet paper along with Uncle Mark's. "Go ahead, champion," Emma went on. "He most likely anticipates that we will also gift wrap this." I stared at the screen because it was so predictable, not because it hurt. Because they no longer even made an effort to conceal it. I didn't fight back because they simply thought I wouldn't. Not yet, but I began gathering screenshots, emails, messages, and documentation of everything. The bills, the rent, the instances when they lied, and the applications that were submitted using my name. Even when I unintentionally discovered that my mother had applied for a Target card using my credit score, she responded, "It's not a big deal," when I asked why. "It wasn't being used by you." When I informed her that was against the law, she lost her temper. "Mr. It, don't threaten me. Man. Without this family, you wouldn't be anything." I discovered the following week that Emma had informed her friends that I was autistic. False, but convincing enough to propagate. "It made me easier to explain," she said. I continued to remain silent. I made the payment. I had a job. I grinned. But I was quietly constructing something, and they didn't know. Because your explosion turns into their earthquake when you build in quiet. 2 weeks following the group chat, it occurred again on my birthday. Humiliation. They didn't ask me anything after the cabin vacation. They had the gall to call me after the rent default. Emma was the first to text. "Hey," Mom said to come by tonight. "Family supper." I left her on read. 10 minutes later, my dad phoned. "Don't make this tougher than it needs to be. We're attempting to go forward." They always termed it moving ahead. When I was meant to forget, they'd hurt me. This time I said yes, but I didn't come alone. I showed up to their house, the same property I helped redecorate. The refrigerator I purchased on schedule is the identical one. I had a backup disc in my pocket and a duffel bag when I entered. Mom gave me a hug as if nothing had occurred. My father gave me a drink. Emma grinned as if she had already triumphed. I took a seat. I paid attention. They discussed healing, about pardoning. Regarding my outburst in which I canceled the credit cards and the rent, then Mom delivered the fatal word that made everything fall apart. "You remain a member of this family. However, you have also committed errors." After taking a big breath, I opened a folder on the table, took out my laptop, and reached inside my bag. They called it truth. Dad laughed. "What is this? Assignment?" I didn't answer. I pressed the play button. First sound snippet. In a voicemail she left me last year. "My mother yelled at me to mature and cover your sister's tuition before she becomes like you." The second video, the voice of Emma on speaker. "He has always been strange. Simply let him cover the costs. It gives him a sense of utility." Next, the files and credit transfer screenshots, group talks, and bills. Emma boasted about squandering my money on her Instagram stories. To them, I turned the screen. They froze after leaning in. After getting up and going to the kitchen, I returned with a USB stick. I connected it to their smart television. After going dark, a screenshot of a loan application appeared on the screen. The name of Dad, principal borrower, my name. Cosigner. I stared right at him without signing. "Without notifying me, you utilized my social media account. For your debt, you put me on the line." He parted his lips. I held out my hand. As previously noted, your account has been locked while a fraud review is conducted. Next week, you will receive the letter. Mom let out a gasp. Emma burst out laughing. You're so theatrical, wow. What comes next? Are you planning to sue us? I grinned. No, but he is. The doorbell rang at that moment. I went over, unlocked it, and let myself in. Emma lied about her former lover, Jake. The person she said attacked her, the one she almost destroyed. With a black folder in his hand, Jake entered and took a seat across from her. Do you wish to inform them? Or ought I to? Emma became pale. You're here, but why? When he opened the folder, he saw screenshots of the phony communications she had created to frame him, a picture of her pre-breakup notes on how to emotionally destabilize him, a voice transcript, memos that have been altered to make him shout. My mother broke down in tears. Dad's gaze was fixed on the wall. Emma got to her feet. You two are crazy. This is harassment. Jake interrupted her. It is not you who is the victim. The bad guy is you. I'm done acting too. You left. I turned around and spoke the last thing I would ever say in that house after following him. I was asked to perform the part. The good son, the wallet that is silent. However, the script is now being written by myself. After that, I grabbed my disc and laptop and walked out of the home. The yelling began, with Mom yelling Emma's name. Dad insists that I return and make this right. Emma may be hurling a glass or something. I didn't turn around. Because you don't look back to see the ashes after you finally exploded the truth. I submitted everything the next morning. Not just the audio messages, not just the screenshots. I uploaded the entire archive. One post with a heartbeat titled, When Family Treats You Like an ATM, within the URL. In my name, every bank transfers the illicit loan. Emma's phony communications. Audio was edited. Disassemble plants. Mom begged me to step up and cover your daughter's tuition in her voicemail. Dad made a joke about my not having a girlfriend, but still having lights on for Thanksgiving. I didn't compose a narrative about sobbing. I didn't plead for pity. I wrote the facts. I made receipts. I also wrote a last line. I'm not upset. I'm not depressed. I finished acting. This is the face of family. I then switched off my phone and pushed post. The message became viral by lunchtime. Not very viral, it's large enough to burn thousands of shares, but not celebrity level. Hundreds of comments. Some came from unidentified people. I experienced just this. My brother followed suit. You're not by yourself. It's crazy how much proof there is. Leave now, King. Some came from mutuals, those who were acquainted with my family. One high school guy wrote, I've always sensed that your sister was strange. This proves it. I didn't answer. I let the post unfold naturally. My aunt, who responded to Mom's birthday insult with a heart emoji, made her own status update around 3 p.m. You shouldn't post your personal family information or laundry online. Emma is disliked. Betrayal hits hardest from the people you once fed, she wrote with a black square she shared on Instagram. I almost burst out laughing. Dad went live on Facebook after that. Live indeed. When I helped him fix the roof, he sat in his garage the same way and chatted shakily into his phone. My son has been tricked. He has a weak mind. He is unsure of his own words. A pile of beer cans behind him. He continued by forgiving me. That errors are made by families. He hoped we could get well. His former golf pal responded in the comments. Why didn't you say you forged your signature once? I had video evidence to the contrary. Therefore, Dad's biggest error was that he enjoyed it. A 3-year-old recording. Dad tells Emma it's okay while he sits on the couch and drinks a beer. I was a social butterfly once. You won't be aware of it. He owes us, even if he does. Without us, he wouldn't be alive. I replied by posting it. No caption, only the date. Then, behind the scenes, I logged off once more. I wasn't only seeing their wriggling, I was constructing. In the same week, I started a YouTube channel. First, only one video. When helping becomes enabling is a straight-to-camera piece. No names, no charges, only my voice. Calm but slicing. People can be loved, and yet you choose to leave them. You can still be useful while helping others, and believe them when they ultimately tell you what they truly think of you. In 3 days, it received 400,000 views. a podcast for adult children of narcissistic households, requested me to speak. Yes, I replied. After that, I received messages from a publisher, a third podcast, and a second. Clout wasn't what I was after. I had no intention of becoming a brand. But the reality, hearing someone utter aloud something they were too scared to even murmur, was a hunger pang. My mom made one final attempt. She emailed me a picture, the mortgage company's letter. The rent was past due. The home was being examined. "I hope you're proud of yourself," she wrote in her statement. "They may bring her home." I didn't respond. "Rather," I responded, with a screenshot showing her name on each dollar I'd provided them in the previous 3 years. More than $84,000. Caption: "You accepted it, not me." 3 hours later, she left me to read. I received an SMS from an unidentified number. Emma was the one. Only a single line. "I pray you never become a parent. You'd be an awful dad." I grinned because it was pitiful, not because it was amusing. They were attempting everything. Fury, shame, dangers, anything but responsibility. And it didn't work. The finest aspect? I made a silent movement. No posts. There is no forwarding address. Condo in the heart of the city. 10th story. Purchased using a different name, the way of a formal trust. Paid in full, fresh perspective. New phone number. A new quiet. They attempted to call. They made an effort to locate me through family. Didn't work since I was finished. Not only their games, but the notion of owing them anything at all. Not my cash. It's not my time. Not even a response. I switched my phone number a month later. Not because I was scared. Due to my boredom. I'm sick of the voicemails filled with remorse. I'm sick of Emma posting cryptic things about narcissistic siblings on Instagram. I'm sick of my father's inebriated emails. You have no idea how difficult it was for me, and I decided to make money out of this disaster. They had no intention of apologizing. They were attempting to recover the narrative. However, I had already taken the story, let it to dry, and then buried it. The funeral had slipped their minds. I didn't simply vanish. I made an improvement. I moved into a 10th floor condo. It's modern, tidy, frigid, and everything I wanted it to be. It's the type of location where the ceilings are high and the neighbors are quiet and don't ask questions. No group pictures or family portraits on the refrigerator. There isn't an extra key behind the mat for emergencies. I kept my residence a secret, not even my closest pals, because I didn't want to share this aspect of my life, the quiet, the fullness, the serenity. I deserved it. I cautiously set up one chair, just one table. Slowly, piece by piece, no debt. Don't hurry. No authorization is required. The first night, I was barefoot on chilly tile in the center of my new living room, sipping a mug of coffee I had made in my kitchen with my machine, and I realized that nobody was going to shout. I won't be shamed by anyone for not doing enough. This month, nobody is going to demand money, rights, or even a little assistance. No phony birthdays, no group conversations, and no information about me being shared behind my back would exist. Nothing but quiet. Lovely. Silence was earned. I began working for myself full-time. For years, the company had been a side project. Keep quiet. Be cautious. Concealed. However, it turned into a beacon once I blasted everything up. I get it. The term consulting is derived from the only message I gave my mother on my birthday. I created the logo myself and constructed the website in a single night. Protected the domain. Registered the trademark. Making a statement wasn't the point. It was about not requesting permission to exist ever again. I now assist others in leaving the same cage. As I was raised, I talk. I am a coach. I pay attention. I also keep to myself. For my family to watch and manipulate, my life is not a reality show. They don't get to take over the redemption arc. It's a fortress with motion sensors and closed gates. Also, I've never slept better. My PO got a manila envelope 3 weeks after I relocated. Box with a note from Mom written by hand. Cursive that is slanted. Red ink, floral stationery. "You used to be our darling son," it said. "I have no idea who this resentful man is. You embarrassed us by exposing our faults in such a way. We were wrecked by you. Perhaps you'll understand how difficult it was for us eventually. Perhaps you'll grow up someday. It came to an end. You are in my prayers." I didn't weep, though. I didn't become angry. I just used a Sharpie to write 3 words on the back. Continue to pray, then threw it in the garbage. Dad sent an email 2 days later, suggestion for the subject line. Suppose we appeared on Dr. Phil. You present your argument. I share my, we achieve peace. Father-son reconciliations are adored by audiences. Consider the wealthy. Might benefit my company as well as yours. A picture of me when I was 5 years old, sobbing over a Chuck E. Cheese, with my dad grinning at the camera and holding up a beer, is attached. I spent 10 minutes staring at it. I then kept it, not as a memento, to remind you, they do not desire peace. They're looking for a platform. That evening, I posted a new video on my channel. Easy. No music in the background, only me. I am frequently asked if I will make peace, if I'll forgive, if I'll return. Peace, however, does not imply forgetting. It doesn't include acting as though your abuser had a difficult upbringing. Sitting at the same table that used to feed you guilt is not necessary. Peace is the lack of disorder, noise, and other negative things. I am no longer your son. I am the result. In a week, it had 2 million views. As I was leaving the workplace one day, I noticed a couple gazing at the door's logo. I stopped. Are you the guy from the story? The lady questioned, glancing at me. Slowly, I nodded. Thank you, she simply said. I had no idea there were individuals like you. I no longer needed their applause. Therefore, that one small moment meant more to me than all the birthdays I've ever given them. There were many people in the world who had been deceived by those who cared about them. I was now evidence that they could endure it. It's been more than a year since I last spoke to my family. I have no intention of doing so. They continue to post. Still a hint. Continue to rewrite. I gave them permission. Because ghosts are not argued with. You just quit letting their stories bother you. Even late at night on occasion, I glance at myself as I pass the mirror in my hallway. Even older, but not resentful. Simply unchained, as I didn't leave a poisonous household. I outgrown it, and there's never going to be a way back. In my office, the store plaque is still in place. Perfect screws with a brushed steel plate finish. We don't rebuild. What caused you to break? Under it, we construct what sets you free. Now, last week, I had a second, smaller sign created to order. You know who won't be turning 12 again? And I always grin when I see it, because it's my party this year, and nobody enters without permission. Story 3. You're not related. The only one who transmits the money is you. At Christmas lunch, my sister mentioned that my uncle also works there. They never communicate. Simply tap. I remained silent. The $7,200 transfer that paid for supper, presents, and warming the oven before turning off my turkey should therefore be canceled. You're not related. The only one who transmits the money is you. My sister stated as much. Word for word, Christmas lunch, at the center of the table, everyone in attendance. She didn't even sound furious, just as casual as if she were describing a board game's rules, as though I ought to have known better. Halfway to my lips, with a chunk of turkey trembling at the end, I blinked, my fore covered. The others simply continued to eat. Uncle Sean laughed and said, "He works in it," with his mouth full of potatoes. Even so, what do? Don't speak. Simply tap, tap, tap. Then, in a poor stand-up performance, he imitated typing on an invisible keyboard. There was laughter. Not too loud. Not everything at once. Just enough to inform me. To them, it was no joke. It was just the case. It was always accurate. I wasn't related. I was a service, a function. I remained silent. I remained standing. I didn't lose my temper or smash a glass of wine. They would have found it simpler that way. We can refer to it as dramatic or emotive, unstable. Rather, the first silently opened my phone by reaching under the table, calmly. I had planned a $7,200 transfer for that morning, but it had not yet been completed. I would divide it across 3 accounts. The heating bill for Mom. Emma used Dad's credit card and a joint account to pay for the holiday costs, which included food, decorations, and all the presents beneath the tree, including the electronic back massager Uncle Sean would later unwrap and exclaim, "Oh, wow! It was just what I needed after all of my effort in vain." I gave it a tap. Cancelled. Nobody immediately noticed. As she often does, my mother was occupied with describing the significance of the decorations on the tree. Even though nobody paid attention, the bottle of cheap champagne my dad often purchased, because it looked fancy, had just been opened. Beneath the table, Emma was texting someone, most likely her boyfriend Zach, who received a stocking despite only having been together for 3 weeks. The stocking was purchased by myself. That had been filled by me. Everything had been paid for by me. There was a first flicker, then another. Then it's off, for a moment only. Then the buzzer sounded. The oven turned off. What's happening? With a grumble, Dad got up and held a glass. He opened the door to the kitchen. The cold air surged in. Electric heating was used in the residence, but it was now turned off. Mom responded, already inspecting the fuse box. That's weird. Uncle Sean looked at me. You claimed to be paying the bills this month, didn't you? I raised my head, remained sitting, remained peaceful. I mistakenly believed that I was the one who sent the money. It was the first time all day that Emma's eyes met mine. She seemed anxious. You're kidding. I didn't respond. The stuffing was not done, and the turkey was still half raw inside. As the atmosphere cooled, the champagne warmed in the cups. The music stopped. It was not a quiet moment. It had a burden. It wasn't just a holiday gone cold after all. It was years ago, paying for years, years of coverage, years of bringing presents home via plane, acting like I wasn't worn out, acting like I enjoyed it. For years, I was the one who sent the money. When things go wrong, who turns up? Instead of receiving a thank you, they receive a quiet nod. And now, they have now spoken it out. I simply waited while grinning softly and wearily. They were unaware that this was not the worst aspect. It was only the first game. Not even the fire had begun. Long before the turkey became cold, it began. It began each time I responded, yeah, I understand. When they claimed to be only awaiting a deposit, maxed out their cards, or forgot their wallets. I began by sending $300 share. It was $1,200, always just enough to cover what they ought to have been accountable for, but not so much that it feels like a loan. But Christmas was simply the tipping point. My mom called me 2 weeks before to the launch. Hello, my love. Emma has been having a lot of trouble recently. It's the heating bill that arrived. It's quite a bit. Additionally, your father's insurance no longer covers his prescription drugs. Could you please assist? Just for this month? I refrained from arguing. Sure, I said. That night, I transferred $2,100. Nobody answered. Emma shared a slow pan of a warm living room with fairy lights on Instagram the next day, with the message, I love this time of year. There's nothing greater than family and home. She left a comment. Mom was tagged by her. Zach was tagged by her. I wasn't tagged by her. I'm never tagged. Dad messaged me a week later. Champagne? It's your year. Yes, I am aware that you have the major responsibility, everything. I purchased the champagne myself and wired an additional $600. It did arrive on time because I shipped it expedited. I only received a thumbs up emoji as a message. Emma visited my apartment 3 days prior to Christmas. Their house is 20 minutes away from my one-bedroom apartment. I require the distance, not because I want to. I feel less like a wallet with legs there than anywhere else. She entered as if it were her own. No. Hi there. No idle chatter. Are those gift printouts in your possession? I must switch the tags. Zach also wants his name to appear on the Apple Watch. He covered the cost. Clearly, he didn't. Yes, I did. The Apple Watch was purchased by me. I purchased the Dyson hairdryer for Mom, Uncle Sean, the whiskey collection, and the spa gift card that my father said he got my mother as a surprise. All of it was paid for by myself. I remained silent. You're the best, she said, taking the receipts. She left in a tone that made it obvious she didn't believe it. Then came the messages. The family WhatsApp group had been dead for months. I mutated a year ago when the only thing they ever sent were minion memes and guilt trips. But on December 20, honest, it exploded. It started with a video, a short clip posted by my father, Emma and Zach decorating the tree, Mom handing out cookies, my dad filming them all like he was directing a feel-good Netflix special. The caption family is everything. I watched it twice. Then I saw the comments. Cousin Dana loved this. It Lorraine, beautiful family, Uncle Sean. Wish I was there with you all. And then under the video, Emma commented, "This year is about the genuine ones." I didn't react. Instead, I reviewed the group's media library, hundreds of images all taken over the preceding month. Dinners, planning sessions, shopping days, may not in a single one, even though I paid for every single thing in those photographs. Then the tipping moment Christmas morning, 10:07 a.m. Emma posted a TikTok. It was a skit. Her trying to be the sister who never shows up, complete with untidy hair, a sweatshirt, a mug labeled broke, and a caption, "When your brother only communicates with you once a year," which is when he sends you money. Related hashtags. Who pays for hashtagging black sheep? In one day, it had more than 12,000 views. In the comments, I saw that many were chuckling. That brother is me. Once more, it man hits. She said what we are all considering. She didn't have to tag me, but she chose not to. The remarks did. He's constantly hidden, though. Some sort of freak, probably. Always in hiding. Does he talk at all? Keep him around for the financial transfers, though. I received a private message from an unfamiliar sender the same evening. Zach's sister. Clara was her name. We had never communicated. Her message was straightforward. "Hello, I just wanted to let you know." Emma stated that she plans to use your funds to settle her credit card debt before her credit score plummets. Zach is unsure. Did I not tell you about it? I looked at it for a while. I launched the banking app. It was there, $1,900, transferred on December 16th to Emma's utility account. Services? Correct. At Christmas lunch, I didn't eat much. Listen to what they have to say about me. Not to me, Mom. Yesterday, Zach repaired the curtain rail. What a handyman. Emma, he's incredible. Dad, you know that not all guys term sitting in front of a computer all day at work. That's right. In my day, we constructed things. Not in the same way. Uncle Sean, robots, tap, tap, tap. More giggling, more food, more wine. Something inside of me became quite still at that particular instant. I didn't require retribution. I didn't require an explanation. I wanted them to sense that they were staying afloat because of the lack of something they were too conceited to see. And it was on the horizon. I was prepared. They considered the oven's shutdown to be a terrible thing. What came next was unknown to them. 25 December, 5:43 p.m. The core of the turkey was uncooked. Nearly an hour had passed since the oven had shut off, yet now nobody mentioned anything. The quiet had changed. It was no longer uncomfortable. It was risky, heavy, as if everyone was aware that something horrible was going to occur, but was still unable to identify it. I got up and left the table. I said, "I need 5 minutes," and left. Nobody made an attempt to stop me. I walked to my laptop, shut the door, and went to the guest room. A folder named Family Stuff was located on the desktop. It contained voice notes, screenshots, bank receipts, and, to my amazement, an audio recording that I hadn't shared with anybody. I carried the laptop under my arm when I returned. Now the room was dark. No heat, no lighting. It appeared to be a seance suitable, despite Mom's efforts to make it pleasant with 3 emergency candles. Like a tray of truth, I set the laptop in the middle of the table. "Everyone has 5 minutes to do so," I said. Confused, they glanced skyward. I then hit the play button. Emma's voice may be heard in the first audio. In case I ever needed to remind myself why I stepped away, I had stored the call. I'll simply pretend that he threatened me if he doesn't send it by Friday. When things get serious, he always backs off. Her voice was harsh, icy, and clear. "What is this?" Her voice was shaking now as she asked. I didn't respond. I just played the following one. Clara forwarded a voice message on WhatsApp. Imogen chuckles. "He is really pitiful, as if he still believes he is family. Zach's PlayStation was wired by him. That is his level of stupidity. Zach appeared to have taken a punch. You claimed to have purchased it. That wasn't meant for you to hear," Emma muttered. The third file follows. My dad spoke in a low, angry tone. "Intoxicated. Even if he is your son, I don't care. I don't prioritize him. He serves the same purpose as a faucet. When we need him off, turn him on. When we don't." My mom let out a gasp. Dad became white. He parted his lips, but nothing came out. Uncle Sean laughed as he attempted to defuse it. "All okay? All right. This is going too far. Let's all take a seat. I didn't raise my voice till then. He took out a printed spreadsheet and placed it on the table after sitting up. Over the past 3 years, I have transmitted all of these wires. Every donation above $68,000, every rent payment, and every heating bill. I never requested its return. Now, however, I'm requesting something else now. Emma got to her feet. This is absurd. On Christmas, you're assaulting us. I clicked to another tab. Her TikTok was the source. In case she erased it, I downloaded it. I pressed the play button. She was there, hoodie. 12,000 strangers are making fun of me with a coffee mug. Explain that, I said. Describe the pacing black sheep. With a blank expression, she sat down slowly. I then looked at my father. You refer to me as a faucet. I wasn't even invited to the dinner last year, yet you made me pay for it. Again and again, you ridiculed my work in front of your pals. Where does it stop, please? He remained silent. I extracted a flash drive from within my backpack. Do you recall submitting that loan application back in 2021? The one where the cosigner is listed. Your wife did not sign that. I owned it. Create. His eyes were filled with genuine apprehension as he glanced up. I went on. Last week, I submitted a report. The loan is being examined. Your credit has been blocked. The fraud unit will contact you in 2 weeks. The voice of my mother broke. You claim to have forgiven it. You claim that I was alone the one who sent the money. I stopped connecting it because I interrupted. The oven has now been turned off. It's chilly in the home, and you haven't even experienced the chill yet. The door was then knocked on. Nobody made a move. Clara entered as I started to open it. Zach's sister. Under one arm, she had a printed folder. Emma stopped. Clara surveyed the space as though she were in a trial. Be ready. Brutal. I felt it was time for everyone to learn about Emma's financial misdeeds. I said. She said, this goes beyond your brother. Everyone is involved. Zach was one of them. Placing the folder on the table, she opened it to see screenshots of Emma's phony invoices and texts, telling Clara that she might as well use Zach's account while he's too dumb to verify it. An image of Emma's actual credit card debt, which totals more than $14,000. Emma attempted to chuckle. This is absurd. She's only envious. She has a fixation on me. Emma's voice was recorded once again as Clara extracted a voice. I could tell Zach anything. Trust me, he resembles a muscular golden retriever. Send it a text. After giving Emma a full 5 seconds of his attention, he left the room. Never turned around. This time, Emma didn't pursue him. Quiet. Nobody said anything. Nobody let forth a cry. It was too late to weep. It was demolished. At last I got up. I'm finished, I said. Not only in relation to the transactions, alongside you everyone. My father also stood. You have no right to leave us the way you are. I looked over at him. I am not walking. I'm going to remove this number. Lost. This residence. I don't care. The tuition for Emma was canceled. Warming canceled. I'm here. Canceled for good. My mom said something in a whisper. Something along the lines of please. Or why. I was no longer concerned. I then looked at Emma. You mentioned that I wasn't family one final time, that I was the only one who sent the money. All right. You will discover, however, what life is like when the wire cuts both ways, beginning today. I then departed. No hugs, no pardon, no second thoughts. Only the sound of my own footsteps in the chilly weather, and knowing that all the candles will go out in that room. Additionally, they would have to sit in the darkness they produced. That night, I didn't return to my flat. I visited a co-working facility. I retained my downtown subscription. Its Wi-Fi was speedy. Excellent coffee. And quiet, more crucially. I connected in my portable SSD, launched my laptop, and made a folder named for everyone who inquired about my whereabouts. I let everything go. Screenshots of the text sent on WhatsApp. Emma made fun of me in those instances, or I was referred to as a faucet by my dad, or my mother typed, "He's not suited for a family." Audio snippets of my mother giggling in the background as if it were a sitcom, as I was planning her falsehoods and my dad degrading me in 3 brief lines. The video on TikTok. The loan paperwork that I signed fraudulently. Emma's thank you. Zach post and the Apple Watch receipt side by side. And lastly, an Excel spreadsheet transfers totaling $68,480.7 $4 over 3 years. I zipped it. I uploaded it. I then typed a single, straightforward caption on Facebook, which I hadn't used in months. If the person who wires the money is me, think about the severed cables. P.S. Behind the fairy lights, this is how family appears. Folder link. Don't use hashtags. Not a single emoji. Nothing but quiet. Until daylight when it burst. 192 of my DMs were unread. The majority were unfamiliar. Some were former classmates. Surprisingly, several of them were members of my extended family with whom I had lost contact for years. We appreciate you stating what we were afraid to. I've always questioned why you appeared so lifeless on the inside. And those pictures from Christmas. Last year, I broke up with my brother. I believed that I was the insane one. I'm not. You're not either. It spread like wildfire. By lunchtime, Emma removed all of her social media accounts. She then uploaded a black square with white writing after reactivating them. Some tales are fabricated to support the victim's account. Around 2:00 p.m., she blocked comments on a Facebook status post. For likes, my kid has chosen to compromise our privacy. Loyalty used to be associated with family. Say a prayer for us. 5 of the 7 likes were from users whom I had banned years prior. From burner accounts, too. I subsequently verified that Emma's mother texted me at 4:37 p.m. I have no idea why you're acting in this way. We're all being harmed by you. I'm not, I said for the first time. Interviews followed. It was picked up by a little blog. Then a podcast got in touch. Next up is a YouTuber who has 500,000 subscribers. Everyone wanted to speak with the man who stole the oven from his own family on Christmas. I accepted one, but I rejected the most. A 37-minute video of an interview with a slightly muted voice for privacy, a list of receipts, a microphone, and myself. In 3 days, 800,000 people viewed it. My LinkedIn following doubled. 2 businesses made requests for freelancing work. I agreed to a remote contract with a company in the UK. I don't communicate with anyone outside of the task list during my flexible hours. Excellent. Then, as a last update, I uploaded a crisp, clean picture of a white envelope with the message, "Today." I approved the last payment at my new residence, apartment with 2 bedrooms. No ghosts, no roommates, not guilty, silently paid in full. There's a comment from Clara underneath it. I'm proud of you. Money wasn't all you needed. I pinned it. Emma sent me an email with the subject closure the next day. Body. I've been told to stop communicating with you. However, I just wanted to let you know that rather than blowing things up, you might have approached me first. Christmas was spoiled by you. The family was destroyed by you. I didn't answer. I was successful. I blocked her after that. On the 27th, Mom attempted to FaceTime me. I said no. I then deleted her from my family on iCloud. On the 29th, sharing that left a voicemail. You ungrateful idiot was the first, and static was the last. Just in case, I kept it. Then I made all the changes. New phone number, a new address, a new emergency contact. In the foyer of the apartment complex was one of those touchscreen directories. I requested that management change my listing rather than my name. I said 2 words to them. Not accessible. No forwarding, no beep, no use. Allow them to assume that I was no longer the one who wired the money while they were standing in the corridor. When the queue was eventually cut, it was me. If I ever had the last say, I used to wonder what I would say. If I cried, screamed, or at last asked, why was I never enough? As it happens, I didn't need to speak. Quiet. Performed the task more effectively. 3 months have gone by. 3 lovely, serene, blissfully quiet months. No calls at odd hours, no messages. To begin with, hey, no request, just a fast favor. Emergencies of the master. No family group chat, no llama. Not one meme at all. I occasionally check my phone when I wake up, expecting to find a fire that has to be extinguished or a crisis that needs to be resolved. Right now, though, all I see is a list of deliveries, work emails, Spotify alerts, and perhaps a text message from Clara. Now she sends memes, the positive sort. No guilt, no yellow minions. My apartment has a new appearance. A coffee maker, plants. In fact, I utilize a painting I purchased for no other reason than it was blue, odd, and meaningless. It was liberating. I no longer wire money. I wire contracts, I wire code, and I wire things that help me create things. Unknown numbers are not answered by me. Emails with urgent in the subject line are not ones I open. I eventually concluded that I was no longer in distress, so I changed my emergency contact information to myself. They are in my final attempt. Thinking they were still in contact, she sent Clara an email composed. He was promoted, I heard. It must be pleasant. It's interesting how individuals alter after severing their roots. Clara took a screenshot of it. Send me a single sentence. Trees do not grow from rotted roots. I laughed for a while without responding. I passed a cafe close to my former neighborhood a week ago. I saw a little blackboard sign in the window. 15% off if you bring a relative is the family discount. Adorable. I paid full money when I stepped in and bought a coffee. I then requested permission to post a business card on their board. Sure, the barista answered with a smile. For amusement, I pulled out one of the freshly printed cards. Name just the person who transmits the money, it said. Title, unavailable indefinitely. Motto, transfers are no longer something I do. After pinning it on the corkboard, I left. Didn't turn around. Didn't intend to. I am occasionally asked if I miss them. I don't. I long for the thought of them. This is the version of my family that I could only imagine. The version in which I was cherished for who I was rather than what I contributed. However, I've come to terms with the reality now. The broken one wasn't me. It was not me who was self-centered. I wasn't a bad guy. I was only a reflection. They declined to investigate, and they destroyed it when I stopped taking into account their requirements. Therefore, no, I'm not upset. I am at liberty. I'm the one who never answers the phone. I am the one who created a life that others are unable to enter. The person who used to send the money is myself. I wire walls now. Limitations. Quiet. And behind them, I sleep like a king.